Hey, it's Coach Anderson, Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, and we're here again today to talk about ACT reading. Over the last few lessons, what we've been doing, of course, is reviewing the test items and looking at the correct answers and try to give you an explanation of why it is that those answers are the best answers. And keep in mind, what we're trying to do, of course, is give you some insights in terms of what you should be looking for and make some determinations about how or if or when you need to readjust your strategy. Now, in this particular case, we've offered you, of course, a strategy that we utilize, and we think it's quite good, but it may take some tweaking from you on your end. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at questions number 11 through 15 and try to give you an explanation as why those are the best answers. Well, the first thing we did, of course, is this passage number 2. It is an informational passage. And what we try to do, of course, is find supporting details, find the thesis, and then what the conclusion was. And what we try to do with our annotations, of course, is to go through and do those things here. Don't worry about this right here. What we'll do is we'll pull out everything individually so that you can see it when it's appropriate to answer a particular question. What do you need? These are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves when we have this particular case of informational text. And this particular informational text is, I guess you could consider it humanities of sorts. But what we try to do with the informational text is try to figure out what the thesis is, what are the supporting details, what inferences can we make, and what conclusions, if any, are drawn. Well, when we look at question number 11, it says the main purpose of the passage is to A, explain why Holmes's musical taste gradually changed over time. B, describe how Holmes' hectic professional life affects his personal life. C, highlight the different instruments Holmes mastered in becoming a famous musician. D, document how Holmes eventually became an enterprising band leader. Well, this is more or less what our main thesis is, or our main idea is. And when we go through and we delve into it, what we can find is that it was never Kenny Holmes' intention to become a wedding singer. We look at, and basically, it talks about in his first line or so, how he loved music, but he didn't see music as a means to make a great living. And as a result, he would take on other jobs, of course, to raise a family and to supplement his income. Music would be something that he would only do, of course, to supplement his income because it was something that he enjoyed. So it gave us some insights about who Kenny Holmes was. All right, so it says the main purpose of the passage was, and D would be the best answer, and it was to document how Holmes eventually became an enterprising band leader, because he didn't set out to be a wedding band leader, wedding musician. He eventually morphs into that over time. And during that time before then, he does all sorts of things. He's a producer. He is a limo driver. He does every job under the sun because that's the way he was raised. And that was the very first paragraph, what it talks about is his work ethic and how he had so much ambition because his family taught him, or was emphasized ambition in the household that he grew up in. Look at question number 12. One theme of the passage is that one's previous experience and pursuits can be useful in achieving success. G, talent is the most important factor in achieving success in both business and music. Recognizing one's limitations is necessary in overcoming one's failures. Pursuing one's dreams should take precedence over more practical matters. Well, when you look at it and we go through and we delve into the paragraph or the passage, what it tells us is he's unwilling to resign himself to the life of a starving artist. He didn't want to be a starving artist. He wanted to be able to make a living doing something that he enjoyed, but if he couldn't do that, he was perfectly content to do something else. And that's what the rest of that paragraph talks about. It talks about, he's saying, man, I would love to be a artist, a musician, of course, that could play like, play all this R&B and all, and play like Frank Sinatra and all that. But if I can't make a living doing that, I'm gonna do whatever I can, because ambition is something that's important in my family, and taking care of your family through whatever means you have to, taking whatever job you have to, because he talks about all the different types of jobs that he has. And if you keep that in mind and you look at those answer choices, it says one thing of the passage is one's previous experience and pursuits can be useful in achieving success. The rationale was Holmes' early music experiences and business ventures like his recording studio and working clubs helped him later succeed in his wedding band business. Even though he didn't initially tend to be a wedding singer, his past experiences helped him succeed in the field when he took it up, because all those other things that he talks about prepared him for the success that he has as a wedding band leader. Question number 13. Which of the following events referred to the passage occurred chronologically? Taylor joined Holmes' band, Bronner joined Holmes' band, Holmes started driving a limousine, Holmes started Sound Ideas. So all we got to do now is just go through and figure out what came first. And once again, if you are, you can highlight, of course, if you are on the computer test, and if you are taking the written test, you just go through and number which one came first, which one came second, and that, so on and so forth. And when we look at it, first thing, number one, he started a recording studio called Sound Ideas. Number two, he always kept a variety of sidelines, including a job as a limousine for 9 years to put his oldest daughter through private high school and college. Then the last thing, these are the 4 things that we identified that were in the test options or the answer choices. And his Sam Bronner, the drummer, and Atiba Taylor, the sax player, have played with him for 3 and 4 years. So Sam Bronner's been with him for 3 years, and before Sam Bronner was there, a year before him, Atiba Taylor played for him. Well, just going through and looking at what we've highlighted back in the passage, I know immediately which one it was. Now, it can be a little bit confusing because these are the last 2 events, but you have to be able to understand that Sam Bronner has only been working for 3 years. Atiba Taylor's been working for 4 years. So by that rationale, who was first? Who was working for him first? Was it Taylor or was it Bronner? Well, since Taylor had been working for him 4 years and Bronner 3 years, that would mean that Taylor preceded Bronner. And the correct answer would be Bronner joins Holmes' band. So the best answer in this particular case, of the 4 answer choices that we were given, this is the thing, the event, of course, that happens last. Question number 14. Based on the passage, the residents of Gordon Heights in the 1950s and 60s would best be described as. This is the very first couple of lines in the passage. F, artistic and sophisticated. G, driven and optimistic. H, friendly and easygoing. J, generous and dependable. Well, when we pull out that information, he said that Holmes was raised in Gordon Heights on Long Island in what he calls a small black community founded by like-minded thinkers, families of immigrants and Southern blacks who, as Holmes says, didn't come here to fool around. If you didn't come someplace to fool around, that means you're pretty serious, pretty driven. And then just that particular hint tells me that the best answer was driven and optimistic. Question 15, the main purpose of the 3rd paragraph, lines 13 through 22, is to A, indicate why Holmes preferred rhythm and blues to Sinatra songs. B, establish that Holmes' parents disapproved of his interest in music. C, reveal that Holmes was considered a musical prodigy. D, describe what inspired Holmes to start playing music. Well, when we look at lines 13 through 22, it says very simply, like any American boy in the 1950s and 60s, he was fascinated with popular music. He listened to the area's one radio station, which mostly played Sinatra, sometimes in the evenings with a coat hanger stuck into the top of a portable radio. That's somebody that really wants to listen to the radio. He could pick up a faint signal from WWRL, a rhythm and blues station in New York City. And when he was a teenager, his brother brought him home a guitar. I was 16. It was a Sunday night, he says. I sat down and played. I can't get no satisfaction. And he was hooked. He was addicted. Well, based on that, that gives us enough information that we can answer this particular question. All you got to do, the answers are there. All you have to do is read with a careful eye and pull out the information when the evidence, of course, presents itself. And the evidence presented itself here. And the best answer, the main purpose of the 3rd paragraph, lines 13 through 22, describe what inspired Holmes to start playing music. Sinatra. Listening to Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones play, I can't get no satisfaction. All of those things are things that he tells you that when he starts playing the guitar for the first time, he is hooked with music. He's addicted, and it's something that will be with him the rest of his life. Well, that's the answers, of course, to questions number 11 through 15. And what we try to do, of course, is give you an explanation why they are with the correct answers. And if you didn't do as well as you felt like you should have done, remember what we said. You might need to adjust your strategy in terms of your annotations and the notes that you take and the questions that you ask yourself. We feel like that the things that we're giving you here are some valuable things that you can use, but don't just take our template and think that that's the only thing that you could do. You could take the templates that we've given in the prior lessons, and you can create a plan that is specific to you. This is Coach Hans from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online. Do well on ACT, particularly ACT reading, because once again, if you do well, that means that your parents pay less and you can go anywhere you want. We'll see you next time.